Okay, a very good afternoon to parents and our young and budding innovators. Welcome to Hacks Lunch with the SST FAM webinar series. Let us recall, in the first webinar series, we discussed technology, and yesterday we also had an interesting discussion on engineering. Today's discussion will center on multiple pathways. For those who missed the session, do check the links in the various SST online platforms and also in the description box below. Hacks Lunch with the SST FAM is a three-part webinar series where we will be sharing information on the school as well as addressing some of your queries. These sessions will be hosted on our YouTube channel. Please remember to subscribe here via description box, youtube.com/SST Singapore, and turn on the notification button. For those who missed our principal, Mrs. Chan, sharing on the 26th May, you may refer to the link below. Okay, so let's look at our panelists today. This afternoon, we have with us Mrs. Chan, principal of SST. Okay, and we also have Stacey from the class of 2013. She graduated from SAJC from the science stream, graduated with a Bachelor in Industrial Design, and she was also in the honor roll University Scholar Program. Currently, she's doing internship. Okay, with her, we have Shaying from the class 2014. She graduated with diploma merit in pharmacy science in Ngee Ann Polytechnic. She is the recipient of the Lee Kuan Yew Award and the Ngee Ann Poly Outstanding Achievement Award in 2018. She is currently in the US pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies under the NUS Global Merit Scholarship. Okay. Also from the same batch, we have Sandy, graduate from ACJC Science Stream. She graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering in Material Science and Engineering, NUS, and doing a second major in Innovation and Design, also in NUS. Currently doing NUS Overseas College Program, and also a product designer at MindFi. Am I right, Sandy?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay. Also, we have Johanna Lim from the class of 2016. Hi, Johanna. She graduated from SJI IB program, recipient of the Smart Nation Scholarship from IMDA in 2019, and currently pursuing a Bachelor of Law in NUS. Okay. And last but not least, we also have Ishan, our current SST students in secondary 3, and she's taking design studies as an applied subject. Okay, so first, thank you everyone for being part of this panel. Indeed, I could see similarity and also the diversity of these panelists. Later, I will say what's the similarity. I think I'm the only thorn among the many roses here. The ladies, these ladies are indeed, you're very passionate and self-driven in the pursuit of excellence since your times in SST. That I must confess. Needless to say that your achievement will be the testimony of this. Okay. Okay, let me start off with the first question, right? Let me start with the context. So SST is a science, technology, engineering, aesthetic, and mathematics is essentially a STEAM school. There is a certain myth that says that a STEAM program may not be suitable for girls due to the nature of the program. However, looking at the accolades achieved by this panel of ladies, certainly this is not the case. Perhaps let me start with Sandy. Having gone through the 4 years of SST program, and what do you think of women in STEAM program, particularly in engineering? Sandy?
All right, thanks, Mr. Joe. Personally, I don't think that engineering itself is like a man's or woman's thing. So for me, myself, I did not have that prejudice saying that STEAM is girls out of bounds for girls. So, and I think for me, I did engineering currently in my undergraduate studies. And I think that engineering, rather than it being a course and a module, I think it's a way to train you on how to think critically. So this actually branches out a lot of different gateways for students of engineering to go into different sectors as well. So I don't think that engineering is like, because you're taking an engineering degree, you become an engineer. You could use these engineering skills to go to different sectors of your choosing as well. So yeah, for me, it's just a base. Yeah.
Thank you. How about your perspective, Sharing?
I would also like to, yeah, I would also like to add on to what Sandy has said. In fact, the perception that girls in STEM was a problem was only something that I learned about after I left SST. I was very surprised to learn that such prejudice against girls existed because when I was in SST, it being a STEAM focused school, girls and boys both always seem to be doing equally well. Sure, there were girls that weren't so good, but surprise, there were also boys that weren't so good at certain fields either. So I think that this prejudice against girls in STEAM fields is basically just a social construct, and parents shouldn't be concerned that their girls wouldn't do well in a STEAM-focused school like SST. Yeah, there are no worries about that.
Hinging of what you have mentioned, right? Stacey, you graduated from NUS, right? And you're doing you major in industrial design. So what's your take about about this mental construct on STEAM should not be for women? Okay. And as Shay mentioned just now, when she was in SST, she did not feel there's a barrier or there's a difference. So what's your view on this?
Okay, yeah, I don't feel that gender was a big thing, even though at first it was like, oh yeah, there's 3/4 boys, and then it's like, okay, and then you move on. There was no like prejudice coming from teachers or even your own peers. Definitely did not feel that. And I think what SST does is more of the experience. It's not just saying that, oh, we are a STEM school, but the kind of skills that you get through the different activities. So definitely felt that I didn't really feel much of the prejudice in STEM. And even now, but the things I'm doing design, so it's not very heavily focused on that there's a disparity in the first place. So I don't really feel it.
Okay, thank you so much for your thoughts. Okay, now moving on, right? During the official opening of SST, Mr. Taman Shanmugaratnam mentioned in his speech, and I quote, SST indeed aims to provide more than future-ready knowledge and skills. It provides an environment in which students can think actively for themselves, contribute to the community, and develop a strong sense of belonging to our country, unquote. So, as a recipient of the Smart Nation Scholarship and now pursuing law, right? May I ask Johanna on this, about this future-ready knowledge and skills that SST provides?
Yes, Mr. Johari. To all the parents listening, I'm now currently pursuing an undergraduate degree at NUS. And now you may be wondering how SST has actually made students student ready. I think first of all is actually in SST's pedagogy in terms of how SST actually has an emphasis on applied learning. Applied learning actually is a combination of knowledge as well as the real life context. So when your child learns, your child will be able to actually keep up with the current trends and keep up with the current news so that they'll be able to contextualize their learning. And furthermore, in the applied learning aspect, you're able to actually be more active and engaged in your material as well. One example would actually be during the performance task as well, where students will actually be exposed to parts of the content and then they'll actually have to do a project on it. And to me, I feel that the performance task actually make you future ready because of the fact that you get to use a learning device, a MacBook, in order to facilitate your learning. Given that Singapore is actually moving towards a vision of a smart nation, then moving towards the vision of a smart nation, I feel it is definitely important for us to get in touch with technology. And now you may be wondering, how is law actually related to science? Well, basically, let me tell you that there's actually an overlap between law and science because both these disciplines are deeply marked by formal rationality. and that is the systematic ordering through general rules and logical derivations. And furthermore, just like how science has infinite possibilities that actually can reach one answer, law too has many ways of approaching the same issue at hand, reaching the same result. Thus, in this aspect, it's true SST's pedagogy of the transferability of skills learned that has allowed students to be future ready, both in the tertiary education as well as in the working culture. And furthermore, SST also has many programs that allows students to develop not only academically but also holistically. And some examples include, in my experience, some examples would be student congress, where students are actually able to express their opinions on certain parts of the school, and thus this encourages them to form their own opinion and views in order to actually help society. And furthermore, I do recall during my time in SST that at the start of each academic year, we will actually engage a service learning project to connect with the community. It can be in the form of a food donation drive or even visits to elderly old folks' homes. And I feel that this aspect of the communication and interaction with the community has actually enlightened my experience in SST, not only to just be a student, but also a global citizen in this current age today. Thus, I'm very grateful for what SST has prepared me for in today's context.
Well, thank you, thank you, Johanna, for the very insightful sharing. Okay, and talking about multiple pathways, right? Sheng, I understand that you have a diploma of merit with merit in pharmacy studies, and then now you're currently pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies. Is that a paradigm shift, in terms of your education progression? Care to share with us?
Okay, so it was in SST through my applied subject, biotechnology, that I discovered my love for biology and the health sciences. Because during biotech, I was exposed to the human genome, bacteria, animal and plant tissue cell culture. So these were things that I was really interested in. And the hands-on learning that came with biotechnology classes in SST was something that I knew I wanted in my educational journey. And that's why I pursued pharmacy science in poly. That was what I wanted to learn. So now I'm currently doing global studies at NUS. So just to share a little bit about what global studies is about, it's a social science discipline that studies the politics of globalization. So I study global actors like multinational corporations, NGOs, international organizations like the UN, the WHO, governments and individuals, as well as their impact on global issues in our world order today. So it's a major that prepares you for a career in the civil service, in diplomacy, in international business, social enterprises, stuff like that. Okay. So I'm also minoring in public health, which is a discipline that safeguards the health of our population, something that's very relevant in today's pandemic context. So why I decided to pursue pharmacy first and then global studies is something related to SST as well. So SST has always encouraged us to solve problems by looking at different perspectives. So SST has an emphasis on applied learning and multidisciplinary learning. When we solve problems, it's as though we have a little toolbox, and in that toolbox, we pick and choose what we can use to solve, let's say, problem X. Can we use this tool we learn in math or ICT or design studies? We can also use it when we go on overseas learning trips. Can the tools we've picked up in Singapore work in China, in Thailand? And can these tools that work in Thailand apply the same way in Singapore? So I went to Polytechnic to do pharmacy because I was interested in what pharmacy offered and the tools that came with it. And when I spent I spent the majority of my schooling years in SSC and Polytechnic focused on the hard sciences. And I eventually came to realize that I'm lacking a particular tool in my toolbox, and that And those tools are from the social sciences and the humanities. And if I can quote Steve Jobs right now, he's the one who said it's technology married with the liberal arts and the humanities that brings results that makes our hearts sing. So this is why I chose to do global studies. It's to build my toolbox such that I can better make a difference. And all of these ties back very nicely with what SST taught me, which is multidisciplinary learning, applied learning, principles that SST has kept very close to its heart even till now. These are things that help me with my choice. And today I'm still working very closely with my discipline of interest, which is public health. So apart from pursuing my bachelor's in global studies, the side projects that I'm taking are all related to public health. And pharmacy science has offered many very useful tools for me in that regard. Hope that answers your question.
Wow. So it's actually another dimension or another lens that you are still in the same area, but just as you mentioned about completing that toolbox that you're building. We have to actually take a few questions from our viewers before we continue with our discussion. And these questions are directed to Mrs. Chan. First question, how do you shortlist applicants in your selection process? The second question, if a student is admitted and the results are not suitable, will the students be transferred from the school? Okay, Mrs. Chan?
All right, thank you, Mr. Johari. Let me first go through the entire DSA process. All right, we all know that in DSA, first and foremost, we recognize by the talent area. And SST being, as the name says, is a School of Science and Technology, our talent area is really looking at STEAM. Okay, so for DSA, it means that the premise is that we will look at your talent area and will offer you a place even before you sit for PSLE. In other words, we are not looking at your PSLE results. Okay, so that's just a broad idea behind DSA. May I just also sidetrack a little bit about the process, because I think some people were asking different stages of the process. So is there any difference this year? Well, obviously with COVID-19, everything has to be on the E mode. So we do have to adapt and make some changes to the way we do while maintaining the spirit of the entire DSA process. So upfront, first stage is currently open right now, and that's application phase. You have to apply via the MOE centralized DSA portal, right? Doesn't apply to individual school, but through the MOE DSA portal using the parents' SingPass. Okay, in there is a very, very simple process. You just key in the choices of school, every information that is available in the primary school, right? The school results, the school-based awards, school-based participation, the information will be automatically ported over. So that's why it is a very fast, free application process. What is extra is that there is this last segment where you are given a cell where you can key in additional achievements or participations or programs that you've gone through that is not captured in the school, right? So if you've done something outside of the school program, you would like to put it in, right? There's a cell for you to enter the name, and then another cell for you to enter a brief description of the program so that we understand what that program was all about and how it helped you in showing us your STEM or your STEAM talent. Okay, not to worry, there is no attachment required. In us, you actually cannot even attach your certification. There is no need for it. We trust that, all right, all of us have the moral integrity. You will key in what you have attained. Okay, so that's the first application phase. After that, we will do a very slight shortlisting. Okay, a majority of the students will then be invited. A great majority of students will then be invited into what we call a phase one. In phase one, we will be looking at an e-quiz. So you will attempt a quiz done in your respective primary school using the school's technological equipment, and just do a quiz. And the quiz is based on content knowledge that the primary school children would have. All right, so not to worry, all right, there's no special preparation that is required. Just go in with your open mind, all right, attempt so that your natural inclination and your natural ability comes through, right? So with that, together with a whole basket of criteria, right? I saw some additional questions coming in. what is the mark range, that we will look for in math and science and so on and so forth. Really, we don't look at an individual. And if a child doesn't have a particular award, it also doesn't matter. We will look at it holistically. And it includes the overall performance. And all I can say is that I do give a higher weighting into the math and science. Right? I won't say I need to have this score. But typically, I mean, if you are not able to achieve even a passing grade in those subjects, then I would have some reservation because of the rigor in the program. And we are mainly focusing on math and science, as many subjects in the math and science basket. My concern is your ability to cope with the rigor of the school. So other than that, I won't place a number because we'll look at it holistically. Some may be slightly weaker in this area, stronger in this area. All our fingers are of different length. We have different strength, right? So we have to look at it holistically together with your participation. It need not be award, it could be participation to demonstrate your interest, all right? And we will select. Like I said, for phase 1, we offer the place to a great majority. So really, we are looking only at people who really we think are not suitable. Otherwise, we will invite you for phase 1. All right. After the e-quiz, we will look through. All right, and e-quiz will be likely done in the week of the last week of June. Okay, so we will work out the processes with the respective primary school. So you will do it in the primary school. Following which, we will go through the e-quiz results, and together with all our other consideration, now we will do a shortlisting of a smaller pool of candidates for round 2. Round 2 still has to be conducted via the e-mode. Basically, it comprises 2 key components: a simple task that we can do using the e-mode, followed by an interview session. Right, so that will all again be done in the respective primary school. So basically, these are the 2 phases. The second phase will take place from end July through to the entire month of August, right? Because it's an interview session, we do have to spread out over a certain longer duration of time. And after that, there's really nothing very much you need to do. Maybe just highlight, if you are selected for phase 2, that would be the point where we will then request for your certificates or your attachments or various things that you have indicated in your earlier application where you just did a description, right? So only in phase 2 then we will require to cite the certification. So with all that, all right, we will then do our final selection, and we will inform you, and the deadline of the announcement of the outcome will be, I think, 14 September, a particular date in September that is nationally enforced, right? So we will give you either a confirmed offer or what we call a wait list offer. Some people will say, hey, what difference does it make? Basically, a confirmed offer means, well, you get the place, provided, all right, there's only one clause, not how many marks you get for your PSLE, but provided you meet the express stream cutoff. All right, so we have no cutoff in that light. It is that SST only offers the express curriculum, so you do need to be eligible for the express stream for the offer to be valid. So in the event that some of the confirmed offer candidates decide not to take it on, right, then we will go down the wait list. So it automatically goes down, right? So wait list is not confirmed, right? Not availability of a place that will be given to you. Right, so back to that second question that I think Mr. Joe mentioned. So what if the performance was no good? Does it mean that out you go? Right, so I hope I've also answered it. Right, as long as you meet PSLE cutoff for express stream, there's no such thing as out you go. And maybe I would like to highlight this part, which I perhaps haven't highlighted in the earlier webinars. In fact, the moment it is a DSA, it is a commitment. It is like a marriage. You are married with us for the next 4 years, right? It is our responsibility to work with the family to ensure that the child will succeed, all right? Right, no divorce allowed, all right? So I hope that sort of
good analogy
of the entire selection process. Okay, all right. Mr. Joe?
Okay, yes, before I continue the panel, there's another interesting question because one parent highlighted in the light of COVID-19, right? Many students will be affected in terms of opportunities to participate in projects and programs. Therefore, their portfolio will not be sparkling in a sense. So how will the school be be supporting their interest, especially when they are applying for DSA?
Yeah. So back to the point. Actually, we don't request a portfolio. It is just a description. It could be an interest that you have done outside school. It could even be your interest in wanting to explore certain things. Really, it is open. I think COVID or otherwise, there are opportunities out there, and we don't look at one item. It's really a whole basket of consideration. I think more important is really your interest. And when you are interested and you're open-minded about the way we are learning, I think more important, listen to the various alumni and our current students and look through our digital platform, see some of our experiences, some of our programs. Is this the type of learning that you think you would like? Because if you are interested, actually the sky's the limit. And incidentally, you notice today's panel and even the earlier sessions, the panel, they all went through SST. But you can see that they have picked up beyond the cognitive development, various other skills that are very transferable. And they actually progress to different pathways, some via the polytechnic, some via the IB, others choosing the A level. But despite whichever path they have chosen, and maybe later on they can share a little bit what drives them to choose a specific path. But ultimately, when they choose a particular path, is because they know what they want, and they go to that path. And your passion is there, your interest is there. Success is already, half in your pocket, and that is possibly. I mean, my take is that's possibly one of the contributing factor why our students do well in their post-secondary education, regardless of the routes they take, because they know what they want. They went in knowing their own strength, knowing their own passion, and that allows them to further grow. And after that, really the sky's the limit. Some went into very hardcore sciences, the engineering and the technologies. Others went into the broader scope of the sciences and technology, all right? Industrial design. Is it hard science? Is it softer science? I think it's an amalgamation of or a multidisciplinary mixed of various components. Others went to, like Joanna, went into law, right? But with an IMDA scholarship. You see that the diverse possibilities is out there because SST is, after all, a secondary school. And let's be fair, a child at 12, 13 years of age, do they really know exactly my interest and they can commit that that's something that I'm going to do for my life? I think they have a certain interest and continue with the experiences that we provide. It will help them further understand themselves. And if this is really an area of interest, we have lots of opportunity for them to pursue deeper. Otherwise, we also open up a whole myriad of experiences. In fact, maybe later on, some of the students or the alumni could chip in and talk about some experiences beyond the STEM area. I think some of them already alluded to it. And that is why the pathways is actually very open. But if you are really interested in the deep sciences, this is also somewhere where you can pursue. All right. I hope I sort of answered the question. Right, back to you.
Wow. Okay, Mrs. Chan actually has set the context about the multiple pathways. So it's interesting to note, right, when I look at this panel, Johanna, you went to SJI IB after SST. Stacey and Sandy, you went to JC route, while Shaying, you graduated from Yan Polytechnic, right? Such diverse pathways beyond SST. Certainly, the school has done something right to make provision of this in terms of the skills or knowledge development. Can someone actually share from your perspective?
For me, I really do agree that SST has opened up a lot of different pathways after secondary school to see where you can go. And I think that for most SST students, when we graduate, we kind of already know that we would do fine in either pathways, but it's up to our own decisions and our interests on whether which pathway did we want to pursue. So for me, personally, I went to JC because I had a lot of different interests that was developed in my 4 years of SST. Like I took biotechnology in applied sciences, and I did think of going into biotechnology in poly to follow that interest, but I actually did develop more different kind of interest in different sciences. Like when I was in secondary 2, I went on this NTU flagship program and I did a course on material sciences, which actually helped in helping me decide my university degree, which I'm pursuing in material sciences as well. So I think SST gave us a lot of exposure to different areas and interests. And for me, JC was a way to deepen this interest, to confirm some of the interests and some of mainly my main interest in like engineering and the way that we think. So that's how I managed to set my pathway through that. Yeah, but at the same time, like because SST gave us so many different experiences, I ended up meshing quite a lot of my experiences into my current pathway, which is double majoring and also in NUS Overseas College, where I learned about entrepreneurship. So I'm not sure if parents really do know we did have, or we still have a topic on innovation and enterprise, if I remember INE, and we actually had INE bazaars, which is a kind of a shopping where classes come up with ideas to sell certain things in one day for the school. So I think through that actually gave me a lot of experience and exposure to like thinking of what to sell and like what kind of services do students want, so that we can like make more money as a class. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, like all these experiences actually boiled down to what I did, what I do right now. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, additionally, adding to what Sandy has said, for me, I actually chose the International Baccalaureate pathway at SJI, St. Joseph's Institution. And for me, actually, I chose this pathway is because of the fact that SST has set a very good foundation for me in terms of applied learning. And I think what really struck me into choosing the IB pathway is the fact that SST actually has a module in secondary 2 called the Investigative Skills in Science, where students can either pick an engineering or a science topic to actually discover. For me, my group actually chose to actually program a temperature automated aquaponics tank powered by Arduinos. And that was actually my first few forays into the technology coding experience. And it's actually because of this experience that's actually led me to apply for my Smart Nation scholarship, because I was so interested in technology. And furthermore, it's actually because of SST pedagogy of the flexibility and holistic learning that's allowed me to actually transfer my skills to the IB program. Because in IB, what really drove me to apply for it was actually because of the fact that they had an extended essay component where students could pick any subject they want and then choose a topic subsequently to write a 4,000-word essay on it. And it's honestly my experiences in SST from the investigative skills in science module as well as the interdisciplinary studies module that's allowed me to actually transfer my skills to SJI, and this is actually one of the few reasons why I chose SJI. And also furthermore, similar to Sandy, I also had a lot of different interests in terms of the biomedical field or even in terms of engineering and law as well. I had a lot of interest, and so for me, I think IB was a good way to really like expose myself to more interest to actually find out what I really want to do. So I think in the end, SST has played a very pivotal role in allowing me to choose law, but at the same time also maintain that technology aspect with the Smart Nation scholarship, where I'll help with policy making in Smart Nation.
Wow.
Okay. So I just want to add on based on what Shing said actually. And actually what both of you guys mentioned is pretty, I guess my experience was pretty different. I came out of SST knowing kind of like what I wanted to do. That's why I decided to go JC instead. So the reason was I was exposed to product design, or maybe more related to what I'm doing now is industrial design in school, in SST, under this program called Art Design Media Technology, so we call it ADMT. And then I really like the experience of what the projects I went through. For example, like we did a toy design project, and we also did like medical design. And I really like the experience, so I decided to pursue that in university. But the thing is, I needed to either go through poly or JC, and for me, I decided to go to JC route because it was more straightforward. Then that's how I ended up in NUS now, under the Division of Industrial Design. So basically what SST did is laid the groundwork, I guess. So they taught me like skills early, very, very early on about critical thinking, problem solving, which I think we have mostly addressed here already. And that was how I entered university, that mindset, which I think actually did place me at an advantage compared to like my peers. And also, just now Mrs. Chan said something, which is like about a child knowing what they want to do and then like having to decide this really early on, which sounds a bit scary because I think no one really enters secondary school knowing exactly what they want to do. But I feel that what SST does is provide the learning environment. Like I really enjoy the environment that they provide for us. So when we also talk about like, holistic learning, and I think what SST does best is to expose their students to an array of different experiences. And these experiences are opportunities for developing like a child's own individualism. So I felt that after coming out of SST, I had a greater sense of self compared to my other peers. And this is really developed in the culture because first we have a small class size. I think that means teachers have more time to spend with students, which really helps, I guess, for a student to grow. And I think all these are like on hindsight, you don't really experience it then when you're in school. But now when I look back and try to think about my experiences, I felt it was the interactions between the teachers and the students, for example, is really friendly, and you could really communicate to your teacher as if like they are your friends. And other than that, because of the small class size, means the whole cohort is really small, and it really encourages like bonding in the whole cohort. And I really like the spirit of my whole cohort and how everyone knows each other. So it's very like familiar and comfortable. So what I'm trying to get at here is that SST provides like this comfortable environment for you to grow as a person and develop your own interest that way. Yes, okay, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Stacey. Now, from about the polytechnic pathways, Shane, you care to explain further?
Okay. For polytechnic, I knew I wanted to go into poly because it was the applied learning framework that the polytechnic pedagogy was based on, that attracted me there in the first place. So as I've mentioned earlier, it was through biotechnology as an applied subject back in SST where I discovered my interest in biology and the health sciences. So in Sec 3 and Sec 4, how the curriculum went for biotech was we had weekly lectures and lab sessions. And this was something I realized I wanted in my own learning. There's something about learning about bacteria, about animal cell culture in the classroom, but being able to see, grow, manipulate, and work with these living organisms directly in the lab, as you've learned about them in class, is a completely different experience. I learned better this way, and this was how I knew that this was how I wanted to continue learning in the future. And Polytechnic promised me that route. I guess I was also fortunate because I had an idea of where my interests lied, and that pointed me to pharmacy science in Ngee Poly. For other friends, maybe they weren't so sure yet about their interests, and maybe that's why they picked the JC route. But for me, I knew where my interests lie. I knew the kind of learning that worked for me, which SST was the one that introduced me to that learning pedagogy in the first place. So Polytechnic was definitely a better fit for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So SST actually provides students with the skills and knowledge and also the experiences, and coupled with that, the opportunities. So I hear things like exposure program with the Polytechnic and also with the universities. But before we continue that, right? So for parents who have just joined us, right? Hex Lunch with the SST fam is a 3-part webinar series where we will be sharing information on the school as well as addressing some of your queries. So if you have questions that you want to ask the panel or ask Mrs. Chan about the school or the SA process, you can just click on the QR code, the link, okay? And we will be getting we hope to address the question as much as possible. Okay, thank you. Okay, now let's go back. So you talk about the programs, and some of you have graduated quite some time from SST, and you know the SST program we evolve. How we evolve, because we look at the currency, we look at the situation now, we look at what is current in the market, what is relevant for the future careers, and we make changes. So one of the recipient of the changes in our curriculum will be our secondary 3 student Xuan. Maybe Xuan, you care to share with us about the Changemaker program that you participated, right, in the lower set?
Yeah, okay. So, hi, I'm Ishan. In lower sec, in sec 1 and 2, we went through this program that is called Changemakers, and it consists of ICT, so like computing and coding and so on. I&E, innovation and enterprise. So it helps us with marketing and understanding businesses and entrepreneurship. And ADMT, which we do digital and physical modeling as well. So one of the things that I find very memorable about this program is one of the projects that we did in Sec 2, which took more than half the year. And we were supposed to come in groups of 3 or 4 and make an ICT app that we thought could help the students in SST. So my group had 4 people, and the 4 of us split into ICT, INE, and ADMT. And we went onto our own specialty routes. And for me, I went onto the ADMT route alongside another friend of mine. And in that, we learned about how we use scripts formally, and how we do videography, and how we can design apps so as to suit the user experience and user to the liking of the users. So from there, I learned a lot of skills for design, but I learned that it was not just that, because throughout the experience, we had to work together with our teammates. And for me, I went on to the AD&T route with another one of my friends. And sometimes we didn't see eye to eye because everyone's design styles are different and we prefer different things. So we had to all settle on one thing, and some compromises had to be made. But overall, this taught me how to work with other people better and understand how other people think. And I think all of us went in with the open mind, so it was easier that way. And another really big changemaker program was InnoFest that happened at the end of Sec 2. And in that, we were tasked with a problem, and we had to incorporate science to fix the issue by making a prototype and explaining what it was about. So from there, it was an overnight program, and my group incorporated a lot of science techniques that we learned in chemistry earlier in the year. And we created this floating ball to help with earthquakes. So through that, we also had to consider the design of the thing, because like, let's say if there's too many of it, or if it's too big, then it would not be feasible. And if it costs too much, it would also not be feasible. And the design of it had to look fine. And also for the user, when they use it, it has to be simple for them to use and not too hard. So I think that this Changemakers program, it helps us to learn some things that we might not have the chance to learn outside of school, because we might not take the initiative to go and pursue these kinds of things. But once I came to SST, I had the chance to learn about ICT coding, which I said in primary school, I wanted to learn it with my friend, but in the end, we didn't get the chance to. So after I came to SST, I got to learn this as part of my curriculum, and it's not a heavy subject either, so it doesn't put a lot of stress on you. And I find the Changemakers program in general really fun, and I learned a lot from it. Yeah.
Maybe I could invite Mrs. Chan to tell us more about this Changemaker program in lower sec, and how actually it translates to the applied subject in the upper secondary school.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think it's nice to hear Xuan talk about it, because just now the alumni were talking when they were reminiscent about their time. They raised subjects like ADMT. They talked about the ICT. They talked about the INE. So you realize that, when we first started, we actually run them as separate strand, because we wanted to develop certain skills beyond just the cognitive. So this is where I think all the alumni, if I say the word 10 Cs, right, I think they will suddenly remember, this is actually what people call the 21CC, 21st century skills. So we picked up 10 skills specifically, and we tried to frame it in our program. So we looked at all the program rather than have it standalone. In the initial years, it's really as a standalone strand. Then we realized that it makes more sense because there's a lot of synergy if we can put them together. And that's why, a few years ago, we reframed it under Changemaker. And in fact, Xuan's batch is the first batch who went through the entire reframe Changemaker program. So I think alumni, I see them nodding away, because I think they also, that's new. I've never gone through it. So it is, why we have all this program, like I said, education is not about education of content knowledge alone. That is granted, but insufficient. And knowledge, I think if you look at content, it can always be retrieved. So we have to teach them the content in the context of how they can apply. At the same time, also develop their soft skills or the 21CC skills, or what we call more fondly the 10Cs. So Changemaker is one part of the program. I think it was Johanna, I can't remember. Someone shared about their ISS, the investigative skills in science. Again, grounded on the context of scientific investigation. But beyond that, a lot of skills that is necessary: critical thinking, collaborative, communication. Right? No point having an idea but cannot sell the idea to others. So, it's through all this programming. So how does all this lower secondary programming then articulate to the upper secondary? I think that was Joe's question. If you hear just now what Xuan was talking about, she seemed to have an interest in the design, because at lower secondary, while we teach overall as a change maker, we actually allow them to take specialization route. So she has chosen to take on the designer role to get further exposure. I believe that could have been the reason, with that greater exposure, that strengthens her beliefs that this is an area of interest for her, that prompted her to take on design studies as an applied subject. Xuan, is that right? Is that the reason?
Actually, I've been taking art classes
As
since I
well.
was really, really young. So when I came to SST, I heard that there was this thing called ADMT, which is kind of different from what other schools have, because we do a lot more digital art and digital sculpturing and stuff as compared to other schools who only do traditional. And we also do like physical prototyping. So it's not just about the computer stuff. So in my art class, I never had a chance to do digital art. So in ADMT, Sec 1 and Sec 2, it helped to cultivate my interest a lot, which is why I'm taking design studies now.
Great. Thanks for clarifying. So in a way, ADMT does build on towards design studies. Obviously, under the Changemaker, there is also the module about ICT. So they, again, Xuan alluded to it. They learn some things about coding, some simple parts. And if you think that that's an area of interest, you can then choose the applied subject computing. So there are many articulations, right? Biotechnology, electronics are the other two applied subjects that we offer. Under the investigative skills in science, depending on whether you chose the prototype engineering research, where you require to build prototypes, and if you have chosen electronic parts, then that has an encounter for you to play with. So in a way, there are different snippets of program in the formal curriculum that will allow them to further deepen their interests and for them to have a greater self-awareness before they decide which applied subject they would like to pursue in the upper secondary. Having said that, I don't think it is just in the formal curriculum. Outside the formal curriculum, there's a whole array of what some may call it enrichment activity. Some could be what we call, in SST's context, we call it the talent development program. There is really a whole array of things. It boils back down to, do you take the initiative to participate in those programs, all right? And for you to better ascertain your own interest, and if that is really the way, then how then do you then make use of the opportunity to really deepen your knowledge and skills in those areas? So really, there are many programs, be it a formal curriculum, enrichment curriculum, that allows you to really delve into the whole array of things. I think that more or less sort of responded to Mr. Joe's question, but just bring me to a point. I saw an earlier question that says that, wow, with all these programs, with all these projects, how then do you do homework? I think so. Am I right? I saw the question earlier.
Yes.
The question comes back to this. Does SST therefore, just do project, no homework, no written? After all, they do O-level, they still have to write. Yes, please be assured, right? We do have to write. We do have to hold a pen. We do also have written. It is about the balance. We also have homework. Homework that is written, homework where you do project, homework where you do research. It's a whole balance of things. Then after you hear this, then you say, oh my God, does that mean I have no time? There's going to be many things that we'll have to do. Yes, there will be a lot of things that will require you to do. But to be fair, we do monitor the amount of load given. And very often, a student who cannot manage the load, the issue is not because of the load. The issue is actually about the question about self-management and time management. Right? There are students who participate in a whole array of activity. I think just now, Joanna also talked about CWSAP. She was, I think, Cyber Wellness Student Ambassador. She has participated in different things. Yet they can manage the entire load of things. It boils back down to whether you can manage yourself, right? Make use of time in an effective manner. If we choose to procrastinate, no matter how little homework we give, we will have problem completing them. So I would say this is something whereby we like to work with parents. Right? I think it is not just in the school. How do we develop the child to have what we call performance character? Right? How to manage the executive skills, how to organize their things, right? So that they can better learn and reap the returns of the programming that we offer. Right? Okay, with that, I think back to you, Mr. Joe.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a question here actually, but before we address the question, right? So when we talk about all this learning, all these opportunities, it seems that, the life in SST is quite insular, right? It's study, do project. So what happens beyond that? So are there any opportunities? Maybe you can share your opportunities through your talent development program, your maybe community work, or maybe your CCA. So that will create a myriad of experiences in SST. Anyone care to start first?
I think I can start first. I think one very good thing that, like what Mrs. Chan said, that SST students are required or sort of very encouraged to pursue different things and different experiences. And I think one thing that as alumni that I think that was very useful was time management and the adaptability of the students. So because of the experience I had in SST, it actually trained me to be better with my timing and also the whole thing about flexibility. Because in SST, we have a lot of project work. And this experience in the Changemaker program, from what I heard now, is very similar to me in my degree work right now. So I have a second major, which is innovation and design. The main point of that major is to transform engineering solutions to modern problems, and then find a way to sort of use engineering to solve it, plus capitalizing it later on as a commercial solution. So I think the Changemaker program actually do help in giving that exposure and that groundwork to excel in this kind of programs. And a lot of people, I think, at least for mainstream, I guess, parents that think that mainstream school SST is very different from mainstream schools, which is very true. But I think all these experiences actually help shape the child to be much more experienced. And when it comes to a place where you're required to perform, aka university, you find your child actually taking the initiative to lead because they have the experience, they have the groundwork given to them through SST to take charge in these projects. And yeah, this is like something that I felt that SST has really shaped me as a person, as a leader in my university work and also the different types of programs that I'm in. So I think to give some context is I'm in a double major program. The first major is engineering, material science, and the second major was innovation design. And I'm currently on an entrepreneurship program that was called NUS Overseas College, and I was supposed to go to Sweden for a year for overseas attachment and also entrepreneurship program with their partner university as well. So actually handling 3 different types of big projects, I guess, in my life, the reason why I chose to do it and I am sort of able to juggle all this was because of the training I had in SST, where I had a lot of different CCAs and TDP, which is Talent Development Program, and also like all the different types of projects that we had in SST.
Oh, actually, I'm also like to add on. In my time at SST, other than like the projects and the curriculum that Mr. Johari and Mrs. Chan has talked about, I think it's also very important to also understand that each student is able to pick a CCA of their choice as well as join like a TDP of their interest, the Talent Development Program. For me, I was actually part of Media Club, which actually handled the photography, videography, and journalism of the entire school. And that was actually very different from like the so-called projects I had at school. I feel that it's a very good respite to actually pick up a new skill, such as photography or videography. And for me, this skill was also like carried on in JC as well, where I also was participating in the photography club and teaching others how to properly use the professional camera. So I think other than the project itself, SST gives you a variety of experiences. And furthermore, I was also in the mathematics TDP, the talent development program. We actually got to learn like how to solve like math Olympiad questions. I think honestly, SSC gives you a very good platform in order to pursue your interests, whether in school or outside school. So I feel that it gives a variety of experiences for you to really understand who you are as a person and to understand your interests and how to further it. And furthermore, in addition to what Mrs. Chan has said about the homework, I also feel that SST has inculcated me a very good time management kind of skill because I'm very able to prioritize the things I have to do in order to get it done at the right time. So even though sometimes you may have a lot of projects, it's also very important to learn how to prioritize your time based on which one is easy to do or which one actually takes the least time. So for me, I actually made use of the free pockets of time in between classes to actually do my work, because honestly, if you just sit down and actually do the work, you are able to achieve so much more in that small pocket of time. So nonetheless, SST provides you with a variety of experiences. You just have to learn how to manage your time with the projects, and you're still able to get the work done and still able to excel in the field.
Well, talking about opportunities, right? The other 3 ladies, right? Your CCA is somewhat different from you are in the arts. Maybe some of you share what's your CCA?
I'm in guitar, but I was a pioneer batch, so we only had 7 CCAs. I couldn't really choose. We only had 2 performing arts. It was either guitar or what was it? I can't remember. Show choir wasn't even didn't exist.
Show choir was like 2013 or something.
No, I think it was only guitar for performing arts and maybe wushu. Can't remember. So I guess my experience is a bit different. I don't really get much of a choice. It was just I wanted to do performing arts, so that's why I took guitar. Yeah, but over time, I feel that in terms of CCA, they add in CCAs based on. Actually, maybe Mr. Johari can explain about how they introduce CCAs. So I see there was one question about sports, and I remember one of my batchmates was a national fencer, so he had time also to do his practice. Yeah, so. Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened behind the scenes, but I know I had a batchmate that was into fencing, and he was a national fencer. If you remember, is it Christian? I forgot his name.
Yes, Christian.
Yeah,
Christian is in fencing, national fencer, and he's pursuing medicine now, if I'm not wrong, in NTU. Okay, thank you so much. So you see, we have added another dimension beside just project works. So we have the CCA. And I know Shaying and Yishan, right? You're both in show choir. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm in show choir dance section.
Yes. Why? What is show choir actually, and what spurred your interest to pursue this show choir?
In primary school, in P2, there was this choir audition, but I didn't know what a choir was. But my form teacher brought the entire class to participate in it, and then they told me, oh, I got into the selection. So I was like, okay, I'll probably take this as a CCA. So I ended up taking choir as a CCA for 5 years in my primary school. Then when I came to secondary school, I also tried out for choir, but then I decided maybe I want to do something new. And when during the CCA fair, the show choir had a performance. So I saw dance and I was like, oh, they look really cool, you know. I think I'll learn a lot of skills and make new friends there. So me and a couple of friends decided to try out for dance together. So yeah, now I'm in dance.
Okay, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we do not have much time to share. I'm sure the panel here has a rich realms of experience to share with us. Maybe one last advice for the parents and also for these young ladies and gentlemen to make the decision whether to choose SST or not choose SST. We just very briefly from each of you.
Okay, I'll start first. I think one piece of advice for the students and parents is, I think, given that you are at the crossroad at this point in time, I think it's very important to understand your child's passion. And if you do choose SST, then I hope that you will actually be undaunted by the challenges and be daring. Because at this point in your life is actually a crossroad where you're able to innovate and experience a lot. So I feel that if you actually were to choose SST, you will have a myriad of experiences that will actually be able to aid your child, not only academically, but also holistically, as he or she will be able to pursue their interests.
Okay. Next, Sandy.
Okay, I think for all parents and for all the young kids out there, I think choose SST because it's giving you the unique experience that you won't get anywhere else. SST has always been a very giving environment and it's a very enriching environment. It gives you experiences really to different areas that lets you know like, oh, do I like this or do I not like this? And it's very normal for people at your age to not be sure of what you actually like. So SST really gives you a lot of different areas to explore your interests, to find out what you really like, what you really don't like. And the whole environment that SST gives, the principal, the teachers, and your peers are all very uplifting. So even if you found out like something that you don't like or something that you're not well at, there's no, the people there will always like kind of cheer you on and also allows you rooms to make mistakes and to improve from there. So I think this experience and this environment is something that is not very prevalent in other schools. So SST really like is that place for you to grow as a person and to find your individual self throughout your years. And this self that you found is most likely going to shape who you are in the future. Yeah.
Okay, Stacey.
I think I'd just like to highlight the identity part again. It's really the unique experience that you get to help develop a child's identity. So for prospective students, it's really more of self-development, and then for parents, it's I think when I asked my parents about like how did I change or how it's different between me being in SST, they really felt that I became more. I kind of exist more as a person, like as an individual, and you're not really just like following others and just doing what everyone else is doing. So really, it's not really about the specific activities, although we go very in depth into like specific programs and specific like class that you can take. But it's really the collective experience that you get in SST that I think is what you should try to experience at least. Okay. And you also know how I'm trying.
Okay, maybe Shane. Thank you, Stacey.
For me, my message is to the students. I think when you are learning in primary school, it's easy to get bored and tired of lessons. Well, in SST, you get to learn new and exciting things, and that's the biggest draw for me. Because learning should be fun and exciting, and SST provides that.
Okay, thank you. And Xuan, very quickly. Anything you want to add?
I think she disconnected.
Okay, maybe we have the last word from Mrs. Chan.
All right. First and foremost, I would like to thank the entire panel. Some of them I've never seen them until as we come together to prepare for this webinar, and really thank them for rising to the challenge. We just did an open call. Can we have some of you to help us with this webinar, because there are parents who call for it, and they just happily came on, not knowing exactly what to expect, but come in with us. That spirit of SST has lived in you, and I'm so glad to have that. Just one final word. Ultimately, my phrase has always been, there is no best school, there is only a best fit. Right? You must know your child, understand your child's openness to things. I think as long as this child is open, it's not so much about how much skill and so on. It is about openness, the willingness to learn, willingness to participate in a whole range of things, not afraid of trying. Now, if this is something that your child is open to, and knowing that he has a certain inclination, I won't say, really knowing that they are interested to that extent, but a certain inclination towards the math and sciences, because no matter what, the context is still largely math and science, although we have a whole array of things as well, right? Then no harm trying. I think just now what Stacey said, right? No harm trying. Apply for it. Let your natural inclination come through in our selection phases. And should we offer you a place, right? Come in with open arms and try, and you will grow, I'm sure, right, with the type of experiences that we can provide you. Right. So with that, really thank you for spending your lunch hour with all of us. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in SST.
Okay, thank you so much. We have come to the end of the third in the series of webinar sessions. Again, I would like to thank Mrs. Chan, Stacey, Sandy, Johanna, Shaying, Xuan. As mentioned by Mrs. Chan, in all three sessions, whenever we ask any of the alum to come on board, they never say no. And that even last minute. So we do not even have time to, I just have time to tell them, okay, the focus is on this topic. And from there, they will come on board and able to share their wealth of experiences very candidly. And for that, we really appreciate. So thank you also to our viewers, the parents and the budding technologists. Should you have further questions, please refer to the SST digital portal. You can check the description box below, and we hope you will be able to make an informed choice as to your next career path. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.